for the benefit of our council members.
Thanks. Just give me a second. A couple of things. First of all, I want to thank the alders who were able to join us at the Middleton Pride Fest on Saturday. Not only was it tons of fun to have you guys there, I think it was, as the mayor reminded us on the stage, a really great opportunity for people to see us as a resource. The more they know who we are, the more comfortable they will be at asking us for help when they need it. That's what we're here for. So another thing that the mayor asked me to bring up is to maybe help us, encourage us to use the bookings feature on the Outlook app that we use. I have to admit, I haven't done it yet, but it is a good way to see when people are available, and you can block out time that you don't want to give away. I promise I will do it. Let's all try. Is there anything else that I needed to talk about?
Well, on the subject of resources, we're all having new committee members show up now on our committees. And so remember, please, that you are probably the most knowledgeable person on the committee when it comes to things like the aspects of Robert's rules that are really important for committees to pay attention to. So please be a resource to your new members and all your members.
Great.
And for an example of that, Alder Nelson last night was extremely effective and gentle and helpful at the PRFC meeting. It was a great example. Okay, now we will move on to our public comments. And just a reminder to folks, when you come up to the podium, please make sure to state your name and your address. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and Alder Nelson is going to call people up, and she'll queue up whoever is going to be next
Right.
on the list.
Great. And my signal, if you're out of time, is the wrap it up. I'm going to call first Alder Crow.
Thank you. Randall Crow, 4312 Rock Crest Road in North Lake neighborhood in District 8, City of Middleton. I just wanted to say again how impressed I am with city services during storms and storm events. Last Wednesday, I was at work when sirens went off, and a number of people were up on the second floor of the bank watching trees bending over sideways. But when I went home, well, that afternoon, I had gotten a text saying, here's how you can report storm damage already. And on my way home, I drove through a couple neighborhoods in District 8 and reported some things that I saw mostly in North Lake neighborhood, actually, using that request tracker that was available right away. I know that emergency services were on alert and out dealing with the weather and dealing with power outages. I know the fire department is always on alert when there's strong winds coming in. So I appreciate the work that they do during the storm, the work that the street crews, parks department does. The other thing I found out by the time I got home, after kind of stopping at a couple places to report down trees in my neighborhood, was that my son and my wife mentioned that they had already seen a city truck going through the neighborhood. So the street crews were already going through assessing damage and stuff. So just kudos to city departments.
Great. Thank you, Alder Crow. Next up is Susan Rosenbeck, followed by Beth Tucker Long. And then, and then Lydia Morris after that.
You have to come to the podium, please. And yes,
I've known that.
and make sure the microphone is on. Yay.
Yay.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Sue Rosenbeck and my address is 6615 Wood Circle East. First of all, I'd like to thank council for putting being proactive on the data center which is why I'm here. My objection to large data centers in residential areas is specifically environmental cost. Number one, water and energy demand, and also air and noise pollution. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, can you come to that microphone over there?
Sorry.
All right. Apologies about that. Okay. My name is Beth Tucker Long, and while I'm not a resident of Middleton, I am an alder on the Verona City Council, so I know what it's like to sit on your side of a meeting like this. And I'm here to share my experience with Flock that we had in Verona. First off, I want to be clear that this has nothing to do with any of our local sheriffs, detectives, or officers anywhere in Dane County. This is about the dangers of giving a third-party company unmitigated access to surveil our residents. This is about a for-profit company selling access to the data gathered from our streets without our permission. And this is about bad security practices and multiple breaches of contracts. This is about Flock. There are many ongoing cases involving abuse of the Flock system by law enforcement agencies, using it to stalk their exes, spouses, and coworkers. A department in Texas was caught using Flock to track a woman for over a month whose boyfriend suspected that she might try to get an abortion. Another case includes Flock users illegally surveilling attendees of No Kings protests without a warrant after the protests had ended. Again, I am not accusing any of our local law enforcement departments of misusing the Flock system, but it is very clear that the system, including our local data, is being abused. Flock has been repeatedly caught sharing private data with federal agencies, outside organizations, and even with consulting companies in other countries without customer knowledge or consent and in violation of the terms of their contract. In addition, Flock does not even follow the most basic of standard computer security practices. I requested the previous 12 months of the Verona Flock organizational and network audit logs, and what I discovered was shocking. In just those previous 12 months, our City of Verona local data had been searched by outside organizations 5,739 times using what Flock called an other image search, which means that the search was not for a license plate number, but was using AI to search the full contents of the high-resolution color images. This can include searching for things like specific bumper stickers on cars. There were an additional 1,628 searches by organizations self-identifying as ICE, and it's important to note that this does not include organizations that did not disclose that the searches were for ICE. And records show that police departments have been actively encouraged to be purposefully vague when recording the reasons for the search. Flock had been caught sharing data with federal agencies without notifying or obtaining consent from their customers and in clear violation of their contracts. Flock claimed that this had just been a trial program and that they discontinued all federal access to customers' data by July of 2025, but our logs showed that 3 months after that, in October of 2025, there were still 974 searches of our local data tagged as federal. Our data was searched another 1,091 times on behalf of Outside Assist, which means that our data was shared with an outside organization with no information about who it was shared with or why. Zooming out to get the big picture, during that 1 year of records I requested, our local police department searched our data 3,268 times. During that same time period, our data was searched by other organizations 6,175,236 times. Verona voted to discontinue our Flock contract and have the cameras removed. However, a month after our request, Flock had not removed the cameras. We sent an additional written request. A month later, Flock still did not remove the cameras. They claimed the cameras were not active, but when we sent out our staff to cover them with black plastic, our Flock system automatically filed a ticket on behalf of us automatically saying that our cameras were not working, and Flock sent out a team to repair our cameras. Flock does not want to take the cameras down because they do not care if we have a subscription or not, because we are not the customers. We are the product that they are selling. Verona, Fitchburg, and Dade County have gotten rid of these invasive cameras. The City of Madison does not use them. I urgently request that Middleton join us in protecting the privacy and security of our residents and visitors by removing funding for the use of Flock products. I also request that you work to remove the cameras and equipment as soon as possible, as Flock will continue recording and selling your data as long as they can get away with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Lydia Morris, followed by India Bach and Deborah Walzer.
Hi, I'm Lydia Morris. My address is 7482 Old Sauk Road. I live kind of on the border of Madison and Middleton, but I work in Middleton and definitely consider Middleton my community. I also want to speak about the flock contract. I would like to see Middleton cancel the contract and remove Flock's cameras from our community. The reason why is that Flock is a very powerful tool, but they have failed again and again to prove that they can be trusted with our community's personal data privacy and safety. There are many examples where Flock has allowed unauthorized agencies and individuals to access their system. The numbers that the person before me shared are really shocking. There are also many stories of Flock continuing to operate cameras that local governments have canceled. One example is Evanston, Illinois, where Flock went so far as to reinstall cameras after the city terminated their contract, and they had to resort to covering the cameras with trash bags because they didn't have any control over the system and no ability to turn it off. It sounds like that's the case with other communities near us. For me, that's a huge red flag that indicates that Flock doesn't care about local autonomy and consent. And I would reiterate that it's clear that we're not the customer, we are the product. I would like to see Middleton follow the example of Verona, Monona, Dane County, and numerous other communities around the United States. Please end Middleton's contract with Flock and remove their cameras from our community. Continuing to work with Flock leaves us vulnerable to bad actors and data breaches, which ultimately damages public trust and leaves citizens feeling unsafe. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next is India Bach, followed by Deborah Walzer, and then Gabrielle Berry.
Guess that'll do. Hi, thank you for being here and letting us have the opportunity to speak on this. I'm also very concerned about Flock and its rapid and largely unregulated expansion throughout the country, and the role that it's playing in our community at the moment. We've seen that we truly have no control over the data that is collected by these cameras, and apparently even if we cancel the contract too. Sure, maybe you can catch a criminal 2 minutes faster than you would otherwise, but just the potential for abuse is farly outweighing that. Just a few months ago in Milwaukee, there was, I believe, 2 young women who were stalked using the Flock system. Really, it's kind of like finding a mouse in your living room and then deciding to fill your entire house with snakes as a solution. But at the end of the day, though, it's really not a partisan issue. It's a privacy issue and it's a liability issue. Just last month, the Dane County Sheriff's Department already recognized that. And I think that's a really important precedent to consider in Middleton's relationship with Flock. Great, thank you.
Can you give
Before
your
you
address,
go,
please?
could you give us your name and address?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
India Buck. I live at 1207 Sweeney Drive.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Deborah Walzer. I live at 7133 Park Shores Court, and I just have a couple things I want to quick say. I hate public speaking, so the fact that I'm standing up here means that I very strongly feel this about Flock cameras. I agree with the women before me, but also I graduated from Middleton High School. I returned here after living out west, never even have been to a meeting before, but this issue is so important to me. I'm so disturbed that we have these cameras in our community. Not only are they using, our data without our permission, I have seen, it's just quick internet searches to see how easy these cameras in the system is to hack. And criminals can get in there, and not just after citizens and stalking, but they can track our police officers. I've seen videos on YouTube, and I know, you always have to check your sources, but they can track police officers and their vehicles. And I don't trust these big tech companies. I don't trust Flock. Every time they say, oh, we did this, security patch and that security patch, I don't believe them. I don't believe them, and I do believe they're that easy to hack into, and I think that's very dangerous. And money. I personally want my money to stay in Middleton. Any money I spend here, I want it to stay in Middleton. I want it to go for youth programs and, sports and the library and I don't want it to go. I admit I should have looked it up first where Flock's corporate headquarters are, but I don't want my money going there. So thank you again for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Oh, I just wrap up. So I do ask, please, let's just cancel the contract with Flock. Thank you again.
Thank you. Up next is Gabrielle Berry, followed by Brad Kyle and Sheila Hitz.
Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Berry. I live at 2303 Maywood Circle. I'm a Middleton resident, parent, and teacher. I'm speaking tonight in support of the Middleton Police Department's use of Flock license plate readers. I have taken the time to learn about our police department and how it serves our community. I participated in the 2025 Citizens Academy, where I had the opportunity to learn directly from officers about their work, their policies, and the safeguards they have in place. I have also served on the Public Safety Committee for the past year and have had the opportunity to continue learning about public safety issues facing our community. One thing that has stood out is the department's commitment to transparency. I've seen a willingness to explain how these tools are used and answer questions from community members. As a parent, educator, and resident, I care deeply both about safety and about accountability. My experience has shown me that our department takes both seriously as well. The use of Flock cameras provides officers with an important investigative tool while operating under established policies and oversight. No technology should be beyond review, and I appreciate that our department takes concerns seriously and is committed to continually evaluating these tools and listening to community feedback and being transparent with how they're used. I support the continued use of this technology because I believe that it helps keep our community safe and because I have confidence in our police department's commitment to using it responsibly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gabrielle.
Good evening, Brad Kyle, 7108 Spring Hill Drive. Also serve on the Police Commission, and I served here as your police chief from 2004 through 2014. And during the time I was chief, we started the implementation of license plate reader cameras. They've been in existence in the city of Middleton for 13 years. There's been no evidence that there's been any abuse by either our officers or anyone else hacking into it or anything like that. We've had an opportunity at our commission to listen to the police department and listen to the issues that have been brought up about Flock. And I'm confident that their policies and how they use Flock has really eliminated those issues that a lot of folks were talking about tonight. My concern is that you remove this tool, this valuable tool, investigative tool, and there'll be times when they would use that to stop a crime, help discover a crime, maybe find someone that's on an amber alert or a silver alert, and that'll be gone if you remove these cameras. I hope you take the opportunity to listen to their presentation. We did tonight. And I'm convinced that working with the city attorney, that they've addressed those issues in a new contract that will reduce any of those concerns that you might have. So please, by all means, consider continuing using this very, very valuable technical tool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I think I was next, right, Katie? Last name
Yeah,
Hibner.
yeah, absolutely.
It looks like a T probably on
Oh,
there.
I'm sorry. about that.
Sheila Hibner, 4227 Red Tail Pass in Middleton. I'm gonna let the professionals do their work. If anything I've ever found is that the people closest to the action that do the work, that have the training and have the experience, they're best equipped to make decisions. But I'm gonna tell you that this is my 66th year as a resident in Middleton, so now you also know my age. I was a teacher for 35 years. I was on the Middleton Cross Plains School Board for 4 years. I served as president for 2 years. I'm on the Middleton Police Commission. And today I'm here as a mother, a grandmother, a neighbor, a family member, and a friend. Because if you have ever lost track of an elderly person, family member, neighbor, if you have ever not for a minute known where your child was, if there was ever a crime committed against your family that you were desperate to have solved, I want for you, for each of you, I want you to have the most effective tool possible to find that person in your family, your friend, your neighbor that is loved. I want you to have every possible tool to find them and to get them back into a safe and secure environment. It happened to our family. For a few hours, there was a tale woven about where an elderly relative of ours had been, and we couldn't put the pieces together. And the police came over to the home. And if we had only had this tool, we could have corroborated the story we were hearing and the actual facts. We didn't have that, so we ended up in the emergency room trying to figure out what maybe had happened medically this day and where this person had been. I'm going to rely on those people who do the work, who know the work, and who told us in our commission meeting just a little bit, all the stuff you're hearing about YouTube and this and that, the evidence does not support it, not for our city and not in the way we use it. I appreciate your attention to the matter, and I support using the Flock tool.
Thank you, Sheila. Are there any other people in the room who would like to speak?
Do you have one
Anybody on-
individual online?
Okay, there's someone online.
Yep, Garrig Abatastia.
Okay, go ahead. And
Here.
please state your name and to give your address too. Thank you.
Hello, are you guys able to hear me all right? Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Gary Gabatista and I live at 1130 North High Point Road. I would be attending in person today, but I'm currently in Australia hanging out with some kangaroos. I'd like to thank the council for taking the time and effort to continue this discussion and listen to our concerns. I am speaking today against the use of Flock cameras, and I'm asking the council to please cancel their contract with them. So far, the cities of Verona, Monona, Dane County, and most recently Fitchburg have all voted to cancel their Flock contract after public request. As more and more neighboring areas do so, the less valuable and effective the cameras remaining in Middleton are, while maintaining the exact same downsides and risks that they currently have. I appreciate the effort to renegotiate the contract with Flock to attempt to gain better data security. However, given Flock's track record, I still do not believe that they are a company worth doing business with. In both Verona and Dane County, Flock has failed to remove the cameras after the contracts have been canceled, forcing the local councils to bag the cameras themselves to protect the privacy of their constituents. Given that the Verona cameras were able to notice when they had been covered and automatically submit a maintenance request to Flock to clear the obstruction, I think it is possible that they were still actively recording data from cars after the contract was canceled. To me, these actions demonstrate that the real value of these cameras come not from the contracts or the physical cameras themselves, but from the data that they are constantly collecting. Why else would they not remove their hardware immediately to use on different contracts? I do not trust this company to abide by any attempted data control measures when they have regularly ignored customer demands, and it seems to be their entire business model and profit motive to collect, sell, and distribute as much data as they can. And a reminder that this data is tracking the movements of every Middleton resident and can easily be used to harm members of our community in targeted attacks. Flock should not be trusted to handle it at all. And even if Flock does abide by a stronger contract, this data still can and will be hacked or leaked because there's no such thing as perfect data security. Collecting it at all still presents a risk. There is also still the possibility that the federal government comes to town with the intent to do harm to our neighbors and just demands that the data be turned over to them. That too is a danger to our community safety. I think there is a social cost of surveillance because when folks start to feel watched, even unconsciously, it changes how they behave. They might avoid certain places, speak up less, and feel less connected. and the people who feel it most are usually those who already feel scrutinized. One of the cameras is located near the Way Forward food pantry. Do we really want the most vulnerable members of our community being hesitant to get food for their families out of fear of targeted surveillance? I think this money could be far better spent investing in our communities instead of surveilling them. I think good neighbors don't spy on each other. And thank you again for your continued attention. And please cancel the contract with Flock. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Enjoy Australia. Anyone else on Zoom or on the live stream wish to comment? Okay. All right, then the public comments are closed. Moving on to proclamations. We have two. The first one is declaring June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth in Middleton. I will go ahead and read this one. Whereas Juneteenth commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the United States, and whereas this historic day celebrates freedom, equality, and the ongoing journey toward justice for all, and whereas the city of Middleton recognizes the significance of Juneteenth in our nation's history and its importance in acknowledging the struggles and achievements of African Americans, and whereas we honor the resilience, strength, and contributions of the African American community to our city, state, and nation, and whereas it is fitting that we join together as a community to observe Juneteenth and reflect upon its meaning to promote understanding, healing, and unity among all people. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Lisa R. Hanairo, Mayor of Middleton, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026, and every subsequent June 19th as Juneteenth in the city of Middleton. I urge all residents to commemorate this day with reflection, education, and acts of service that promote equality and justice for all. Is there a motion?
This is Alder Crowe. I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Nelson will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the proclamation declaring June 19, 2026 as Juneteenth in Middleton signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Excellent. We will get a picture of the council after the next proclamation is read. We might as well do them both. All right, the next proclamation is celebrating America's 250th anniversary, and Alder Myers will read this one.
Whereas on July 24th, 2026, the United States will celebrate its 250th anniversary, marking the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the founding of our nation. And whereas our founders established a nation based on equality, inalienable rights, and the pursuit of happiness, principles that have guided America's enduring legacy of freedom and achievement. And whereas these ideals were further codified in the U.S. Constitution with the 13th Amendment in 1865, the 14th Amendment in 1868, and the 15th Amendment in 1870 to abolish slavery, guarantee equal protection under the laws, and the right to vote, as well as the 19th Amendment in 1920, ending sexual discrimination in voting, the 24th Amendment in 1964, which abolished poll taxes in order to ensure the right to vote, and the 26th Amendment in 1971, which lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. And whereas ensuring that America is a place where every person has the opportunity to exercise their rights and to thrive is an ongoing process that requires a vigilant, educated, and engaged citizenry. And whereas schools, community groups, and local government all play a vital role in educating and practicing civic values, honoring our history, and foster community among new generations.
Now therefore be it resolved, I, Lisa Hanairo, Mayor of the City of Middleton, Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim July 4th, 2026 as the semi-quincentennial in the City of Middleton and call on the community to join in this celebration, reflect on our nation's journey, and recommit to the founding principles that make America strong and united. Is there a motion?
Myers, I move approval.
Is there a second?
Baines will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation celebrating America's 250th anniversary signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Excellent. All right, folks, we get to stand in front of our backdrop. Let me just sign this. Bye, Katie. All right. So excited about this backdrop finally being brought out of storage. Okay, where's Charles? All people in the back.
Yep.
That's not me.
Forward, everybody.
Thank you, Charles. Thanks, Brian.
You know, we should really get one with everybody who came here. Public comment, since our resolutions.
Thank you. Okay, members, moving on to the consent agenda. I believe item 6 needs to be pulled. Alder Crowe?
I was just gonna look. Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion for, well,
Oh.
first of all, do any other alders wish to pull something from the consent agenda? If not, is there a
the-
motion?
I'll make the motion to approve items 1 through 5 and 7.
All right, we have a motion to approve items 1 through 5 and 7 on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
This is Madden. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving items 1 through 5 and 7 on the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Alder Crowe, would you like to speak to item 6?
Yes, and I'll make a motion to postpone decision on item 6 until our July 7th meeting.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Myers second.
Any discussion?
This is agreement that's still in discussion between the city and the school district. There's a couple items that still need to be kind of figured out from what I understand, so I'll give them a little bit more time to get a final document.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just a point of information, the chief had asked to have this pulled tonight just because there were some questions that came from the school district staff, and we just want the time to be able to answer their questions before we bring this back for a formal vote.
Okay, I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of postponing item 6 until the council's July 7th meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to miscellaneous. We have 2 items. The first one is discussion and potential action regarding the use of flock cameras and existing contract. Council previously talked about this at our meeting on February 17th. I asked for this to be put back on the council agenda because I was unaware that there was any effort to update the contract. That the bit of information coming out of the public comments is new information for me, and I trust everybody else on the council as well. I asked for this to be put back on because I share the concerns about privacy that we've heard about. Obviously, we have residents who do not trust the use of the data. We discussed in February the problems that at least Alder Myers and I had noted with the wording in the contract. And then on top of all that, the contract was never explicitly approved by the Finance and Personnel Committee and the Common Council in contrast to the idea that we have transparency. I'm not ascribing blame to anyone in our police department. This predated our current chief. But the fact is that we were asked, as members of the Finance and Personnel Committee, we were asked to approve an increase in an IT information technology line item. It did not indicate that this was surveillance cameras being deployed by the police department. Again, I'm not alleging that anyone intentionally hid that, but it is what it is. I trust our police. Green Bay police chief was quoted in the Wisconsin Examiner on letting others use their data, and his concern was, I don't have control over how those other agencies manage their employees. So while I trust our employees and that we have processes in place, our data is being used by others, can be used by others, and we have no control over how it's used. And then finally, I'm going to read a bit of a letter from Senator State of Oregon, U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, who says, it is my view, and this was a letter to the Chief Executive Officer of the Flock Group from October. It is my view that Flock has built a dangerous platform in which abuse of surveillance data is almost certain. In particular, the company has adopted a see no evil approach of not proactively auditing the searches done by its law enforcement customers because, as the company's chief communications officer told the press, it is not Flock's job to police the police. Senator Wyden went on to say that the company misled its state and local law enforcement customers, telling his office that due to internal miscommunication, customers were inaccurately informed that Flock did not have any relationship with the Department of Homeland Security, while pilot programs with sub-agencies of DHS were briefly active. And Senator Wyden's letter concludes, locally elected officials can best protect their constituents from the inevitable abuses of Flock cameras by removing Flock from their communities. I will open it up for discussion. Alder Myers?
Yep. First, I'd like to start by saying how much I truly appreciate our police chief, Steve Thompson, and our police captain, Tyler Lother, who are both here, as well as the rest of the officers who serve in that department. And not just because you're in my district. Middleton's police officers have done truly remarkable things. And you don't toot your horn enough, so I'm going to take a minute to do that before we get into Flock. In my district, I know recently that we had a really great outcome on a police call that doesn't typically end that way. And it was because of the experience, training, professionalism, and culture of Middleton's police department that we had that outcome. And some luck, but you know. So when I speak against the continued use of Flock cameras in Middleton, it is not because I do not trust or deeply respect the professionalism and sincerely good intentions of Middleton's police department. I do. And I know that regardless of how this discussion ends tonight, our police department will continue to be a good professional force. And when issues do arise with officer behavior, you will address them as you have as a department, promptly and fairly. So thank you. With that said, unfortunately for all of us, not every police department lives up to your standards. You set the bar very high. Some departments, it's the Marianas Trench. And they have access to all of this. Additionally, I think the company that we're in business with right now as a city is somewhere near the bottom of that Marianas Trench. One of the things that disturbed me when I went onto Flock's website to look for previous versions of this contract was that it told me I needed to log in to see them. They wouldn't give me access to them. Now, fortunately, in our agenda packet, we have access to a previous version of that contract. And in looking at that previous version of the contract and the current version of the contract, as of 2025, that they have posted on their website for terms of use for the customer data provisions, what it seems like to me is that they have created a contract that does not prohibit the objectionable conduct that they engage in as a company when it comes to developing proprietary data algorithms based on the 130 unique identifiable features that their cameras collect on cars. What this means is that if someone, hypothetically speaking, wanted to use our city data in Flock to train one of their algorithms. Now, they say they don't do this on their website, but unfortunately, this is a situation where as a company, they're just an unreliable narrator. And because they're an unreliable narrator, we can't take them at their word. But if they were to use our data to create a data set of people based on their political beliefs, they could do that based on the unique identifying characteristics of the cars. If they wanted to profile the members of a church in my district, they could do that too. If they wanted to profile people going to get food, they'd be able to do that. If they wanted to use that data to contravene other city policies and create algorithms for the same purpose, they would be able to do that because they are not prohibited from using our data to train under an algorithm. Now, they may say that they won't do that. They may say that we have the right or the ability to stop them from doing that. But based on how they have treated other neighboring municipalities in Dane County, I don't think that we can conclude that they will do that. And just to leave, because I've talked for long enough, I'm sorry. The clearest indication to me that Flock is not a company that we can trust is that in the initial version of the contract we signed with them, they had a morality clause. It allowed them to immediately terminate with us for not adhering to it. We couldn't do the same with them. And that tells me when somebody shoves a one-way morality clause in your face, you can't trust that person. You can't trust that company. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Alder Myers. Other alders?
I guess I'll
Alder
go.
Baines?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Alder Myers just said. I thought that was very well spoken. I think our police do a great job, and that law enforcement is very important. And it's something I ran on, but this seems like a very sketchy company to be involved with, given their history. So I'm not inherently against the idea of all license plate readers, but this seems not to be the most reputable people to be in business with right now.
Thank you. Alder Oates.
I have a question for either Chief Thompson or Captain Lather. I'm fairly new to this body, as you all know, and this issue as well, but I've been doing some research and we did have a public safety committee meeting discussion. The question I have is I believe that these automated license plate readers have helped solve a lot of issues, domestic assaults, fraud, weapons violations. It's my understanding that they've been helpful, including from the cameras installed here. My question for you, Chief Thompson, is so we have our own license plate readers in certain squad cars, right?
Correct.
But those are under our exclusive control. Is that correct?
We collect the data, yes.
And I saw online that there's about 80 license plate readers in place throughout Dane County by other jurisdictions. Are any of those, aside from the Flock cameras that are being discussed, are any of those owned by any other private entity? Or are those all controlled by the municipality?
Yeah, so the police department has been utilizing mobile license plate readers since 2013, I believe. And that does go into the same shared database so that if other law enforcement agencies come across vehicles that are stolen or Amber Alert, vehicles that are on the roadway that pick them up can mobilize a response. So this technology has been utilized as a mobile effort for roughly 15 years.
But the 80 or so that I found, and I don't expect you to know where those 80 are, but just a quick search said that there are 80 of these operated by other jurisdictions. Those are all a resource that's shared with the other, with one another.
Correct.
But
Goes
they are
into a
not-
shared database. Yep.
But they are not privately owned in that case, to your knowledge.
No, not,
Okay.
the system that we run, the boss system was out of Greenfield. That was, through internal servers. And that has then since changed hands, but, it's not through a private company as of yet. You want to speak on the boss?
Yes, I
packet-
can.
packet talk?
Just, I guess, to get to your point with these 80 other cameras, I'm not sure which companies there are. There are multiple companies. They're not all in the same database. So for example, if another jurisdiction has Motorola, that's of no use to us. We can't access that system. That may not directly share with Flock. So part of the issues we're hearing in the network, that's also the power of Flock. That's how we've been able to solve many of these cases. I'm happy to share a very brief list of successes to keep you all informed, but we have many of them locally because of this that have actually solved crimes and made a real life impact here in Middleton.
Could one of you comment on the use of license plate readers at places like Costco or Walmart, or, we don't have Walmart in Middleton, but obviously there's private businesses that use cameras for their security. Obviously, our school system uses cameras. To access that data, would that require a warrant, search warrant to access that if you wanted to help solve a crime and maybe look for their, quick trip scammer or something like that? How do you access that data?
Ultimately, we would work with the company. It could be upon request. It just depends on what, but if they are privately having the cameras, then that data is theirs. So for us to get that data, we would have to go through the normal channels to acquire it. So it'd all be case dependent. If it's a complaint that originated from Quick Trip, then they just give us the camera footage because they want it solved. So it just really depends.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Alder Nelson?
To the chief and captain, thank you for being here tonight to help us with this issue that it's really serious. In the case of Verona, that have canceled their contract with Flock, how do you work with Verona then when they don't have the same service that we do? How does that work?
So we lose any access as a sharing partner. As with Flock, we can control who we share data with and vice versa. So Verona was a sharing partner with us. So now that they're out of the network, we don't have any access to their stuff. It's ultimately who your sharing partner is in the end.
Following up on that question, so as Verona and Monona and Fitchburg and Dane County rural areas all stop using the cameras, that means your use of their data goes away, correct?
Correct.
So that limits the use of the cameras.
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes.
But Flock's use of that data does not go away.
Say that again?
So the cameras might still be present in those communities, right? But
Yeah.
Flock can still use that data, but local law enforcement cannot use that.
Correct. The physical camera is up. And I can't speak to what the situation is in any municipality that has cut service, but once you cut service, other sharing partners can't access any of that data. So we control all the data that happens in this city, all the reads that happen in this city, we can control. And then if somebody wants to partner with us or us them, then they give us access to the data they collect and vice versa. That's the network. And that network allows for pre-alerts. So if someone puts in a stolen vehicle that, is in, let's just say Waukesha County, a municipality in Waukesha County, and that comes into our jurisdiction, we will know that a stolen vehicle is now entering our city. So we utilize Flock quite a bit on the pre-alerts as well. So for us, there's a lot of advantages to the actual program itself. But I want to go back and just commend how the police department has been treated. Ultimately, we understand that this is a situation where you can fall on two different sides. We are very, very aware of that we have support in this community, and we greatly appreciate all the professionalism that the council has shown to us and respect and vice versa, and the people that have shown up today. No matter what side you're on, it's noted. We really appreciate that. And no matter what happens tonight, we're really dedicated to making sure everyone is safe. So I do want to mention that. I can provide some information on Flock from how we utilize it if it's agreeable to you. But I'll leave that up to you.
Members, do you want to hear? Oh,
I
I'm
would,
sorry. Go
yes.
ahead, Alder Lorman, and then I have a comment and then we'll let the chief provide some examples.
Yeah, Chief, just a technical question. So in terms of data aggregation, so the only data being aggregated with Flock is the data that's gathered from the 2 cameras that are in the city, not the readers in our cars. So the readers in the cars, that data stays within the database systems of those companies, or we're aggregating all data through to Flock?
Yeah, they're two separate systems.
Okay.
That are operating there.
Yep. So.
And it's 3 cameras that we have.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yep.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
So, era pre-Flock was, for the sake of technical discussion, license plate readers were in multiple municipalities and none of that data was aggregated and still isn't to this day. So there is no service out there currently really aggregating any data other than the Flock cameras. So removing, if I'm correct.
Oh, there's other companies that have the same model as Flock.
Yep.
Yep.
But there is nobody taking like a secondary aggregation where you gather all the data from the readers in our cars and then parse that off to a cloud-based service that can then be shared.
So to be clear, they are 2 separate systems. The
Yep.
mobile ALPR system that we've had since 2013 is a part of a network that is a part of law enforcement shared data. We can access reads from other communities and they can access here.
Yeah, okay, that's what I wanted to confirm. So,
Yes, so we have been doing that for 13 years on its own network.
yep, exactly,
with success.
exactly. So, thank you.
May I ask, why is that not sufficient?
Because you're highly dependent on a squad collecting the data of a vehicle coming in. So it's often from chance and that vehicle being in the right time in the right place versus a fixed option. It's a point of access, ingress, egress. You can more strategically put it in a spot where vehicles are more likely to come in and out of the city.
But you were still able to solve some crimes using the data from that other reader system from the cars?
From the mobile data?
Yep.
Yeah.
Alder Schaefer.
Some, but not nearly to the level. Just to be clear, we have much more successes in the last couple of years with our fixed ALPR data than our mobile ALPR data. For example, if a squad car is down, experience a technical issue, getting an oil change, or simply out for a shift where an officer isn't driving it, it's of no use in not collecting any information at all.
And before I go to you, Alder Schaefer, may I ask one more question? So,
I agree with everything Alderman Myers said about the police force and you guys and the work you do. And yes, you're greatly respected,
Yeah.
et cetera. But it strikes me that are really 2 different issues. And the one issue is how much do we give away in terms of this data to counterbalance how much good comes from the data? And that's a question that, is required a lot of answer that I might get. Secondarily, though, if you said that Madison doesn't use that system, Dane County doesn't use the system, Verona now doesn't use the system, Fitchburg doesn't use the system, it doesn't leave much of anything left who's using the system. So while it might have helped a lot 2 years ago, it strikes me that you've lost the majority of who would be incorporating with everybody bailing out of this thing. So it may become somewhat of a moot point.
well, and my question was going to be, if 3 cameras are helping to solve crimes, wouldn't cameras at every intersection help even more?
Yes.
And I don't think I want to live in a place like that. And I don't think the people who elected me want to live in a place like that. Okay. Any other, Alder Nelson? Yes.
Thank you. 2 questions. do we know which companies, Dane County and Verona and these other communities that have left Flock? Do you know that they've gone to other different companies?
Oh,
And are
um,
they going to the same company that, and that they can share with? And
Yeah.
are we increasingly being alienated by hanging with Flock?
Just so, that's a great question to Alder Schaefer's point. It's highly dependent on the network. Right now, despite what Dane County has done, the Flock owns over 90% of the share of this type of technology. So even though that Dane County is elected to move away from Flock, the value to having Flock is very tremendous. In fact, there was just a silver alert that was discovered in southeastern Wisconsin. One of Dane County's residents of an elderly gentleman that could not be found if not for Flock, saved this person's life likely. So there's a tremendous benefit of keeping it. My concern is if we go away from a product that has got proven success to the safety of this community, and there's a gap there, it leaves us vulnerable to not solving very, very serious crimes. This camera in our city has, just in the last couple weeks, we had a vehicle that it hit a motorcycle on an intersection, broke the guy's arms, and the vehicle drives away. There's no way we're catching this vehicle without the cameras. It's just not happening. So internally, there's tremendous benefit for having them, but yet the network is still very, very strong everywhere outside the county.
I have my second question, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Who is liable if someone uses the data incorrectly and someone is, say, killed, a domestic violence person? They use our data, they abuse it. Who gets sued? Can we sue Flock for sharing it with that person? Are we sued by the family? Who's liable for that?
Well, I see an attorney in the room. That might be a better, it might be a better answer for me then.
Fair point.
Well, there's one question of who becomes liable and who gets sued. Those two things are not necessarily the same.
Okay, shoot for both.
I mean, generally, I don't think that, I think it'd be difficult to support a claim against the city just by virtue of being part of Flock. I mean, unless, we, knew or that, the data was gonna be used. And from what I understand, most of the egregious situations are law enforcement personnel in other departments that access it and falsify the reasons they're doing it, searching for it, much like we used to have with, the privacy of driver's license data that was, used to be abused before the driver's license privacy acts. And so I would imagine liability would be primarily with first the individual and then perhaps the department for lack of supervision. But can I say that the city would not get sued? No, but I see liability against the city remote in that scenario.
Yes, so when an Amber Alert or Silver Alert goes out, do most law enforcement agencies search their records at that point to help? Without, if Flock weren't available, would you be searching your data that you've collected on your dash cams?
Yeah,
Is there a way
so
to search it?
to answer your question, before Flock, pre-Flock, most Amber Silver alerts are officer observations across the paths with the vehicle in question. I do want to touch a little bit on an example that we had, reference Alder Nelson's comment on a domestic violence. Captain Lather has got a pretty good domestic violence example we'd like to share. That kind of speaks to the power of the tool.
Yeah, in addition to the hit and run that was just earlier this month, and including the Silver Alert that the chief mentioned, there's a couple of high profile examples of successes here, including a domestic that was a disturbance involving a firearm. In 2025, Flock was used to not only locate the suspect when he came back to Middleton very shortly after the incident, but we were able to catch him and arrest him immediately that night and end that threat and close that window. Our attempted homicide case, I don't want to talk too much on, but the poisoning case that you may have heard about in the media, For Costco, that happened at Costco in our city. Flock was central in placing the suspect in our city at that time. In addition, 2024, we had a weapons violation where a BB gun was fired at a resident of this community. Without Flock, we would not have been able to identify and catch that suspect. In 2025, the mentions of fraud, that was an $800,000 fraud case that was solved, and we identified a suspect because of the Flock camera. In addition to that, the silver alerts, the stolen vehicles are our most common alert. I don't want to understate those, but there's some additional, very recent and very memorable examples of real impact that this tool is making.
I have a follow-up.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Alder.
So the mayor's comments, I respect her comments that where she's coming from in terms of a camera at every intersection. I think that obviously is a separate debate. But my question is, if this tool is so useful, why wouldn't we place our own stationary, the readers that we use in our vehicles? We could put them in strategic fixed locations. You spoke about how having them in fixed locations was helpful. And I recognize and appreciate the mayor's question and have some beliefs along those lines as well. But if we had our own system, that would get rid of the sharing at the private sector level, right? Would it not?
Yeah, and ultimately, just to add on to that, a lot of departments are actually discontinuing their mobile license plate reader programs altogether based on leveraging and use of Flock. The hardware to keep those running is actually not being supported in a lot of respects, and it's antiquated because the fixed have such tremendous value to the cities. So we're seeing a lot of departments go away from the mobile end of things and go to the fixed. It's just a matter of asking yourself the question of, do you believe that people on a public roadway have a right to privacy in their vehicles? And there's been court cases that do not support that on a public roadway, there's no expectation to privacy. And so when we're actually talking about what data is collected, it's data that's collected that is legally able to have according to the courts. Now that could change, and that would change a lot of things here with respect to where we stand, because we want to be cognizant of people's individual rights for sure. That we don't want to be infringing on people's rights. That's why we are very conscientious of our sharing partners. We understand that sharing with federal agencies, while an option, we don't do that. We don't share with federal agencies. Just to go over some steps that we've taken since this has come under as an issue with Flock, we pulled the contract from our IT consortium altogether to put it under the police department, to get it for you people to review, because to the mayor's point, that's where appropriately it needs to be, right? Because we want to make sure that gets reviewed. We have a year left on one of the cameras that we currently have, which is why I reached out to Flock to let them know that our common council is not happy with that contract that was signed in place. And so they produced the new contract that you see that you now have, which our city attorney has looked at. So those are some of the things that we are doing to make sure that this is above board and we're making a reasonable effort to make sure that this tool is leveraged appropriately in balancing people's rights.
Alder Crow.
And I guess from your comment, but that we don't share, we pick who we share with. Some of the comments we heard earlier was that we don't always have a say, apparently, who Flock might share with. So, I mean, what kind of guarantees do we have that Flock is abiding by our agreement? How do we address those concerns?
Yeah, so one of the things that with information and the storage, there's cloud storage is becoming how information is stored in general. Internal servers are very, very expensive, and it's hard to keep that information. So cloud storage is not anything new. It's common practice among companies across the board. Through the contract and the language of the contract that we are able to redline and get to a point where it works for the city, to have that in place. I'd be curious to have an example, because from what I heard from comments is this is what Flock has done. But I question, where is that information coming from? How do you know?
And that I don't know. So, you know, it,
So my question is like, if I heard that, if we can track down, and we've tried tracking it down, we've talked to the company multiple times. We've talked to surrounding agencies, and if they're not a sharing partner, we couldn't find any examples of, yeah, they shared our data without our knowledge, and we didn't want that to happen. It never really happens unless it's you select them as a partner to share with.
May I ask, you mentioned the new contract. Where is the new contract? Because it's not in our packet. What's in our packet is the 2023 contract and the 2025 order form that says this order form hereby incorporates and includes the terms of the previously executed agreement, which is the 23 one, which is what we raised concerns about at our meeting in February, because it says pretty clearly that they can use customer generated data to provide Flock services. But that gets to the point that people made that we are not the customers, we're the product. And it's basically in the contract that way. So I don't know what the different contract is that you're talking about, Chief. Alder Myers.
Point of just information. So the 5-page PDF that we have in our agenda packet incorporate the order form incorporates by reference at the top of the last page in bolded but very small print that we have by executing this order form, customer represents and warrants that it has read and agrees to all of the terms and conditions contained in the previously executed agreement. And the parties have executed this agreement. So it looks like what they're doing is incorporating by reference the previous, which then updates to the current on their website. You have to dig around for it.
If it says this is a question for Matt. If it says the previously executed agreement as the terms, that
Right.
sounds like the agreement we have
Yeah,
signed.
I don't think that what you have in your packet incorporates it, but they have done a revision to their general terms and conditions.
Who is they?
Flock.
Okay, but we have not executed an agreement with that in it.
No.
Okay.
I've done a review of it.
Okay.
There's some things I wanted to talk to the chief about, but I mean, just in terms of the language and the basic arrangement of, our ability to approve who is accessing the data, that is how the agreement reads to me. Track this down. How would we ever know if we were following that? That's another matter, but certainly the language of their updated regular terms and conditions is pretty substantially different than what is in the documents that
Mhm.
previously.
Alder Myers.
Yeah, if it's anything like what's on their current website, the way that they've given themselves the ability to still do what they were doing without explicitly saying it is they would in what's on their website, they've deleted 4.3 in our initial contract. And they've moved language that would allow them to use and disclose customer data to provide Flock services and use customer data to support and improve Flock's products and services. That's what's on their website. So if they've used that, they've really just taken the objectionable clause that screams, we are going to use your data for our proprietary set of algorithms, and they've moved it into a different section of the contract that still doesn't prohibit it as a use.
Mhm.
So again, I trust our chief, our captain, and our attorney unfortunately, I don't trust Flock to be honest and reliable here.
Okay. Members, we've had a lot of discussion about this. And Chief, Captain, I mean, it's not that we don't trust our police. It isn't that you weren't able to solve some crimes using this technology. It's the company and it's the use of our data and that's our residents' privacy and the concerns that we've heard expressed. I would note that in Fitchburg's resolution canceling the contract, they said it is appropriate to evaluate alternative ALPR, automated license plate reader providers that may offer different data management and sharing, access control, or contractual structures. So that is something that remains a possibility for this council. But I would entertain a motion to direct the city attorney to do what's necessary to terminate the contract and stop using the cameras as soon as possible and formalize this action in a resolution to come back to council at our next meeting. Alder Myers?
Before we get to that stage, I just wanted to point out that I believe Dane County in their termination of Flock chose to submit an RFP for responses from alternative or other companies that do this. And so if we are going to cancel, which I hope we do, I think that, and I'm generally opposed to this technology at all times, as I said in the February meeting, but in the interest of compromise and addressing legitimate concerns, I would request that if we do terminate this contract, that we have a conversation with Dane County and other potential jurisdictional partners about that process.
Okay.
Can we just add?
I don't want to speak out of turn. I just want to make sure that we have all of the information out there and everyone's informed before any decision is made tonight. But there's a couple other notes on some municipalities that have been mentioned. Fitchburg did withdraw their camera. They noted, both their mayor and their council, with a very strong endorsement that they are completely intent on replacing this with another solution as quickly as possible. Maple Bluff just did a 1-year extension with the understanding that they do not want to be without ALPR technology in the meantime. They're open to other ideas, as are we. We don't get any kickback from Flock. We aren't completely loyal to Flock. But I would implore you to, before any rush to a decision is made tonight, and leave us in the dark here for a period of time, especially in the summer season. Pedestrians, bicyclists, we've had a hit and run earlier this month that we would not be able to solve without this technology. I think it's really, really crucial that if we want to move on, we'd be very careful and judicious about that. I also want to just mention the Milwaukee accountability cases that were brought up earlier tonight, where officers, our charges are being referred. They were fired for their misuse. I applaud that. I think that shows that the system works. I think that shows that the audits worked. Officers misusing data were caught. They're held accountable, as they should be. We hold ourselves to high standards. As you've had a presentation recently, we're an accredited agency in the top 5% of the state. We do those audits here. We hold our own staff accountable, and we will continue to do that to the best of our ability. And I greatly appreciate all the words of support that we've heard. But it will be very tough for us to go back to our staff tonight. If you take this tool away from us, they're not going to feel those words of support. They're going to feel a very powerful tool with some real life examples ripped away from them without a solution in the interim. So I just want to throw that caution out there.
I appreciate that. I would encourage you to let them know they can watch this video and hear all of the discussion. And I wouldn't characterize this as a rush to a decision, because we have been, this was addressed in February. And we've been waiting for 4 months now to make a decision. So I think we owe it to our residents to make a decision tonight. And I appreciate your comments, Captain, about the time needed to make a transition to something perhaps that we can work with our peer cities. I'm the president of the Dane County Cities and Villages Association, so that gives me some opportunity to bring this to all of our peer cities in Dane County and invite the county into that discussion. I would note that the Fitchburg resolution also contained a clause that said continuity, whereas continuity of law enforcement operations is important and a reasonable transition period is necessary to allow the Fitchburg Police Department to assess and implement alternative solutions if appropriate. So that might be wording that we could incorporate into a resolution for this council to consider. Alder Madden, did you have
Well,
your hand?
that's kind of my point, right, is I hesitate very much. I don't want my problem is with the company and not necessarily with your use of the technology, right? Like I trust that you and your staff are doing everything that you can above board and in every way, shape and form that you, and I don't think that we should take away a tool that could do so much good, but we should take away that company's ability to access our data. And then I'm fine, and I think it's important to have some sort of bridge between getting rid of those flock cameras and having a newer technology that we have more control of.
Yep, and I understand where that thought process completely. My overall concern is that it's the company is being the fall person for the philosophy of the technology. So for instance, if another company comes and they have 90% share of the market, is that company now in the crosshairs of being an untrusting company? Because it would have, for me, and I understand your concern, but if someone were to come to me and say, hey, this department complained, or we have evidence that they gave it here. What we have is anecdotal evidence that we cannot track down. And every time we try to, if we can get pointed into a malfeasance from the company, that to me, that would understand, I would completely understand. My concern is this is a strategy that maybe is used to get the philosophy shifted. And that's why I would like for, some clarity on, is it the company? Is it the philosophy of the cameras in general? Because I don't want to in 2 years come up here and have to defend another company for the same type of thing. So I think it's just a temperature check on, like Alder Schaefer said, you're weighing, is it the philosophy of the camera? Is it worth keeping the community safe based on the evidence
Alder Lorman.
Yeah. I just want to state that I think the chief put it precisely correct. I've spent my life working in technology in the areas of very large data and security in an institution that deals with literally hundreds of thousands of records that are at the highest level of sensitivity and restricted data use set. And what we've discovered is when we've worked with a vendor that has had a major data breach, the kind that when you turn the news on, you hear about it, that's affected us, all of us locally. It's taken us, easily a year to move to the next vendor. And so what we did is we did frame it in the exact same way. We need the technology. It's the company that's in charge of the technology has simply fallen short in raising the bar in best practices security standards. And one thing I just didn't get a real sense of tonight, coming from our attorney as well, is, looking at the flock agreement, is it really in our best interest? And it looks like it's not. It doesn't represent language that protects us completely, also as Alder Myers pointed out. And so to the chief's statement, is it the technology or is it the vendor? And I guess what I would say is I support the use of the technology. It's a safety tool. Just like where I work, we have this massive amount of highly sensitive and restricted data. And if we said we're going to stop gathering that data, we would no longer be able to do the truly groundbreaking research that has come out of our institution in transforming people's lives and health. And so what we've learned in that process is just that. And so I think we need to move ahead and send a message to Flock and move away from Flock, but at the same time, I don't think we should do it until we actually have a solution in place that our police department says, yes, this works. And understandably, if Flock has such a very large market share, there is going to be some sacrifices made in going with a different vendor. But if enough people are doing this around the country, it also sends a message that these larger vendors will also agree to call it industry standards for their data. And they'll be able to share the data across their systems using application programming interfaces and other forms of technology that are very common that we use right now. This is how one major healthcare institution is able to share your medical record with another institution. So if you're in Madison and this is where your healthcare is, and you unfortunately find yourself in another part of the country in a critical situation with your health, a request can be put in and your chart could be transferred. So, you know, maybe this piece of the industry hasn't caught up yet. So I think we can get there. I'm always more the optimist with technology, you know. I want, you know, I want us to see it work, but also hold those accountable who aren't really doing their job in terms of the business and industry, not the users.
Alder Nelson, thank you, Alder Lorman.
I think that a feeling that I've had that's sort of underwriting this whole thing is it's amplifying my mistrust in the federal administration that we currently live under. And I understand that this technology is our reality now, but history is making me really queasy. And if I have to not use Flock as a way to try to get some control, I'm afraid that's the way I'm gonna go. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
Any other, okay. Alder, I'm gonna go to Alder Pro first because he's only spoken once and then back to you, Alder Myers.
So actually, I was gonna make a motion.
So was I.
So I guess my motion, I'm not sure who this is directed to, if it's to the police department or the city and the police department, to investigate options to replace Flock cameras, investigate other companies that might have similar technology. I don't know if I should put a time frame on that, how long that, if you've done that, some of that work already, or 6 months?
We have, and ultimately, we have two cameras that are not in a contract anymore with Flock. And I did not renew based on this heat check I was getting. And then also, we have the third one that was on a separate timeline contract that has a little less than a year on it left. So sentiment of keeping that in place for continuity's sake works for us. It's something that I think is reasonable, but while also keeping the community safe. That would be our wish.
1 second, please. So did you make a motion?
Yes, that
Was
was
that a
the
motion?
motion
Okay.
to investigate options to replace Flock cameras.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion. My understanding of the motion is that it is to terminate the contract with Flock with a 6-month time frame to investigate alternatives. Is that correct?
That's not how I worded it exactly.
It's not how you worded it,
It's
but
to investigate options to replace. So the options could be
okay.
Technically not replacing it, but something that we could then revisit in 6 months.
Okay.
Okay, in that case, I would like to offer a substitute.
First, let's see if there's a second to Alder
I
Crows.
seconded for the purpose
Oh,
of
you
discussion.
did. Okay. And now you're
Yeah.
overriding it. Got it.
Yeah. I would move to amend the motion to terminate the contract with Flock with up to 6 months of lead time to identify a replacement vendor for this technology.
All right, so we have a substitute, an amendment to the main motion? Okay. To add, terminate the contract with Flock with up to 6 months of lead time to identify an alternative vendor.
Administrator Gaddow has a comment.
Okay, everybody's got a comment. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead.
Just a clarifying question on the motion. So is the termination immediate and then there's a 6-month window to find a substitute, or is the termination going to commence 6 months from today's date?
The termination would be 30 days from entering into an agreement with the replacement vendor.
Yeah.
Okay, that's,
Because we're required to give 30 days notice under the contract.
I don't know that we are. I know we have to give them 30 days notice for non-appropriation of funds. So I guess, okay.
Effective termination.
A question, Madam Mayor?
First I have a question, if I can. The question is, how many cameras are active in Middleton right now?
3.
3, but you have not,
So, yeah, so,
I have a point of order. I'm sorry. I have a point of order.
okay,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Do we have a second to the motion?
No.
No,
So we probably should before we,
all right.
so.
I need someone to restate the amendment to the main motion. I got the main motion.
Sorry for interrupting.
So that's okay, good point. Charles?
Brian looks like he's ready to read it back.
He's writing as fast as he can.
An amended motion to terminate the Flock contract with up to a 6-month lead time to find a substitute technology. The termination will be within 60 days notice after finding an alternative.
I think I said 30.
30.
Yes.
30 days. So that could mean 7 months before the cameras.
Potentially,
Okay.
yes.
Does anyone want to second that motion?
This is Madden, I'll second.
All right, so we have an amendment that is moved and seconded, and back to my question. So we have 3 cameras in operation, but 2 of them are under one contract, the third is under another contract.
Yep, so, the 2 are outside of the 2-year agreement that was signed. I did not sign to the 2 cameras. I did not sign a new agreement with them. The other third camera is in the 2nd year of its agreement. So that agreement is got roughly 11 months left on it.
But
And I've
the-
been holding off on signing, but the initial was a 2-year.
Okay, well, any contract should come to finance and personnel before it's signed.
Correct.
And then secondly, I remember from our February discussion that the 2023 contract automatically renewed after 2 years because we did not inform them that we didn't want to. So we are still under contract with them.
The 23.
Yep. The 23 contract had an automatic renewal clause after 24 months. So those are still under contract. Our attorney at the time said, at the meeting, said that that might not be a legal clause to have in Wisconsin, but I believe you determined it was.
Well, it's not as much an issue of the automatic renewal. It's the fact that these were not approved by.
Speak into your
Oh,
microphone. Sorry.
I forgot actually I have.
You have one
microphone
now.
Yeah, it's not so much an issue of the automatic renewal as it is the fact that these were never approved by the council in the first place. Now, of course, we received benefits, so, we're not getting any money back or going backwards, but that undermines the validity of the contract unless the council has specifically delegated the authority to enter into a contract. This is the body that is the only body that has authority to bind the city.
Okay.
And since that 23, I have not, typically every year they will sign an agreement. They'll request an agreement be signed in conjunction with the 2-year that contract that is signed. There has been no agreement that I signed with them. And that's important to note because the terms of agreements were updated since then. So, and ultimately, my experience from other municipalities, they haven't had no issue of any type of termination with this company as of yet. So.
Okay. All right, so members, we have.
So sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Just
Alderman Wilson.
clarification from the chief. So the two cameras that are not under contract, do you do like a month to month with them
No,
or how's
we-
that go?
We just haven't paid the bills on them, and see what happens. So we had a feeling that since we had one working, they weren't gonna, press us. They know the situation that they're under the microscope here, so.
Thank you. That helps.
Alderman Myers.
Yeah, just as a point of information for my colleagues, after Dane County terminated their contract with Flock, they passed a resolution reinstating $80,000 to the 2026 operating budget for the county for an alternative ALPR company with meeting certain privacy concerns and transparency concerns. They also, sorry, I'm trying to summarize all of this. They also, because they set it in this year, and set their conditions and set an RFP process for the selection, I think that it's reasonable to conclude that we will be able to identify a company based on the very reasonable restrictions that Dane County passed in their resolution within the 6-month timeframe in my motion. If it were up to me personally, I would terminate this tomorrow, but I think that something like this, it's important that we compromise as a community to make sure that our values are preserved.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Not, I'll call the vote. Administrator Gatto, can you read the amendment? We're voting first on the amendment to the main motion.
Yes, the amended motion is to terminate the Flock contract with up to 6 months of lead time to find a substitute technology. The termination would be within 30 days notice after finding that alternative technology.
That is the motion. That's the amendment to the main motion, so we'll have another vote after this one. All those in favor of approving the amended language signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Aye.
7-1. Thank you. Moving on to the main motion as amended. Any discussion of the main motion as amended? Administrator Gatto, would you like to read the main motion as amended?
Main motion as amended would be, again, to terminate the Flock contract with up to 6 months lead time, find a substitute technology. Termination would be 30 days notice after finding it.
What about investigate, Alder Crow's part about investigating other options to replace Flock?
That might be implied in that, but we're adding that back in.
I would start with investigate. The motion is, or the Alder Crow moved to investigate other options to replace Flock technology and terminate the contract.
Yeah, so
Like
as
this.
amended, it would read as follows. The motion would be to investigate options to replace Flock technology with a substitute technology and to terminate the Flock contract with up to a 6-month lead time to find a substitute technology. The termination would be within 30 days notice after finding that substitute or alternative technology.
Okay, that is the amended main motion. That's what you're voting on now. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone who spoke and has been giving a lot of thought to this. All right, members, I will ask you, we have a few more items. We've been going for an hour and a half,
I was just about to ask if we could have a 5-minute recess.
5-minute recess. Thank you, everyone. All right. Are we back on? Okay, we are back. 8:43. Just noting the time in case we need to take another break in an hour and a half. All right, moving on to the discussion. Update and discussion on the community campus project. And I just, if I may, I asked Administrator Gatto to put this on the agenda, and I'm requesting it as a pretty much a standing agenda item because we have started, right? And so I think it's important for us as a body to be kept apprised of what's happening, and then that way we can help our constituents know what's happening.
Sure, just a real brief update for the body tonight. We're working on 3 different documents that we'll be bringing forward to you here, hopefully in the next couple of meetings. The goal would be to get them in front of you before the end of July, hopefully at the beginning part of July. Your first meeting in July is the goal. The 3 things we're working on now are a memorandum of understanding between the city, the library board, and the Commission on Aging related to design, fundraising, funding, and construction of the community campus project. The purpose of that MOU is to clarify roles and responsibilities for the project design phase and the construction of the project going forward, in addition to how the different bodies may be involved in different fundraising activities for the project. The second one is a request for proposals for what's called owner's representative or construction management services. That's to have a firm or individual be hired by the city to serve as the project manager to help the project get through pretty much bidding all the way through construction and occupancy of the building, just given the size of this project, it makes sense to have that type of service, somebody with the background to do that sort of project management. And then the last one is a request for a proposal for architectural and engineering services for the project. This is again based upon your guidance at previous council meeting. So we're working on that as well to again set the stage for getting proposals back from different architecture firms for the group to decide on who they'd want to actually design the project. So those are the documents that are underway now. As soon as we've got drafts that are ready for the council review, we'll get them on the next available council agenda, but just wanted to give you a sense of what's kind of going on since you last talked about this item.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Alder Nelson and then Alder Myers.
Not a question, but I have a friend who is in the business of helping libraries build new buildings. And this person recommended that because of the different legalities of the library boards, that we may want to, when we look at the architects, hire a firm that would have 2 architects and one specifically for the library because of the intricacies of that. And I don't, if there's a firm that can offer both, that would be very convenient, but that was just a suggestion that I had never heard of, and I just wanted it to be said out loud in case it's helpful.
Thank you.
Alder Myers?
Yeah, so in terms of the cost for the building envelopes that we intend to construct, and the potential weight of the structures, one of the things, and the amount of that cost that's going to be the foundation, one of the things I think we should move forward with independently of all of this is an analysis of the soil on the project sites. It will help us in evaluating whether or not any of the responses are actually responsive. So it's a relatively small upfront investment compared to the overall project cost, and it will give us a better idea when we're looking at any of these proposals, if we're actually getting a responsive proposal or just something that has numbers that add up to the number we want to see.
Okay, other comments? Alder Nelson?
Is that standard? Can I ask Abby?
So usually that would be done with the architecture and engineering services. They would perform the soil borings at all of the locations that are relevant to where they intend to design and where they intend to include infiltration for stormwater management. I haven't ever seen it set up as a separate contract in advance of at least knowing like the approximate building locations, but we could look into that and see if there are examples from other communities.
Thank you.
Follow up, Alder Myers?
Yeah, so the reason I'm asking is because our city's original name was Peteville. We're somewhat notorious for our poor soils, all over, so that can add substantially to the cost. I'm just interested in making sure that we don't see a project, fall in love with it, and blow our entire general contingency budget on the foundation in order to support it, because there will be other things in the general contingency budget.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for the administrator? If not, thank you. We will move on to ordinances, first reading. First one is ordinance to amend section 2.311 and 2 related to the composition and term of the pedestrian, bicycle, and transit committee.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Myers second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Then I would move to approve the ordinance to amend section 2.311 and 2 related to the composition and term of the pedestrian, bicycle, and transit committee.
Opeth seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Alder Myers?
This request came to the License and Ordinance Committee from the Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Transit Committee, and we followed their recommendation.
Well, and to add on to that, and from the Commission on Aging, you know, both committees were consulted before we decided that we could change the ordinance. Both were in unanimous agreement that this was the right thing to do.
Great. And I just want to add that I totally support this. I think we've hit upon a better approach with Ped Bike and Transit and Public Works to have joint meetings instead of a liaison. I hope when we have our committee of the whole meetings, the one about the strategic plan, I hope we'll look at other committees where we have liaisons and maybe consider following this example. I did have one request that I would like to bring to the council for consideration, and that is, I'm looking at paragraph C of the revised ordinance, and it says 6 members shall be citizen members, of which 1 member shall have transit experience and so forth. And I'm wondering if we could change citizen members to members of the public.
Yep.
We could just, yeah, sorry, just
Go ahead.
in the interest of language cleanup, we could just strike citizen.
Members shall
So-
be members.
Yeah, so six members shall, yeah.
6 members
Yeah, so actually
shall
members
be-
shall be citizen members. We could just strike shall be citizen members. So 6 members, of which 1 member, since we don't repeat citizen member elsewhere in that clause, it would have the same effect.
I'm fine with either way, however you all want to make that change. Is there a motion to amend?
I'll move to amend ordinance 2.31 1C as marked up to read 6 members, of which 1, striking the words shall be citizen members.
All right, so we have a motion to amend the main motion to strike the words shall be citizen members in 1C. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none.
Oh, yeah, what's the objective with removing that language?
Trying to have more inclusive language instead of implying that you have to be a US citizen to serve on our committees. You don't. So members of the public is what I had originally suggested. Alder Myers?
Yeah, the current language, for instance, would exclude a legal resident who's a green card holder who happens to be a pedestrian safety expert. So we'd want that person on the committee.
Alder Schaefer?
Isn't there an implication though that by talking about a citizen member implies you're not an elected official or you're not a employee of the city as well? And I mean, the way it's worded now, you could put 6 council members on there. I don't think that's the intent.
Just to
City
be clear,
attorney.
I mean, I don't think the way our ordinance is constructed, that citizen, it is anywhere defined or meant to be United States citizen. I think this is I mean, I understand the connotation and that's a perfectly legitimate reason to change this, but I don't think it's legally necessary to allow us to appoint people who are not officially US citizens. But if, you know, if the connotation is still there,
Sure.
we just don't care for the language, that is
Yeah,
fine
it's,
as well.
it's a connotation.
Sure.
Yeah. Alder Myers?
Oh, just to address Alder Schaefer's point, because that's a valid concern. Section A specifies that 1 member shall be an alder, so we could not appoint 6 alders. Under section.
It doesn't say only 1 member can be on.
And 1 shall be a member of
I mean, I'm okay with it. I think we all understand it. Maybe making it just a little too vague.
Alder Nelson?
I tend to agree with Alder Schaefer. Is there a way that we could say resident members? Members shall be residents of which one member shall have blah blah.
And that means you have to live in Middleton.
We also have a general provision talking about, generally, somebody has to be a resident, except we have an exception for when expertise is called for, and we are arguably
This
calling
might be
for
one.
expertise here, that might cause. a
I,
problem.
I would offer again, my
Yeah.
members of the public.
Yeah,
I
I like it.
Alder Myers?
members of the public wouldn't necessarily preclude alders either. I think if we really want to spell out only 1 alder, the way to do it is section A. Only 1 member shall be a city alder person. So we just add only in front of 1.
Wow. Is that really the concern? Are there 6 of you clamoring to be on the pedestrian transit committee?
Yeah, no, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a lot of ways you can interpret this if you remove some kind of clarifying language. And I don't see a real need to say this language that we have there now is destructive. It's gonna cause all kinds of problems. So let's get rid of it. I personally like it the way it was. That's all.
Alder Opitz?
I'm gonna weigh in too. So I think it would actually read better if we had A, B, and then D would be number C, would be letter C. So you have 1 member is an alder, 1 is a representative of the school district, 1 is a high school student, and then you say 6 additional members of which 1 shall be. It would actually read cleanest that way. But I also recognizing we're doing committee work at the council level right now, so.
Mhm. And wordsmithing.
So I don't know, we have other things to do.
We're ready.
All right, well, we have
Second.
an amendment that has been moved and seconded, and it is to strike the words shall be citizen members from paragraph 1C.
That's good enough.
I'll call the vote. All those in favor of striking the words shall be citizen members from 1C, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, so 7-1 on the amendment. Going back to the main motion to approve the ordinance with that change to 1C. Any further discussion? And this is the second reading, so this will go forward. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that one passes 8-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to ordinance number 2, to revise the zoning ordinance, chapter 10, to adopt a 12-month moratorium on large data centers. And this comes to us from Plan Commission 4 times.
On behalf of the Plan Commission, I move we adopt this.
Do you want to suspend the rules? Go straight to the second reading? To make it
Yes.
effective? Okay.
Myers second.
All right, so Alder Schaefer moves, Alder Myers seconds to suspend the rules. Any discussion?
Now we need to move approval. Or
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I move,
Oh.
We have to vote.
Nope, we gotta
No,
vote.
we have
yeah.
to.
Oh,
suspend
yes.
rules.
All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and now,
Back to the
yes,
original intent on behalf of the Plan Commission that we adopt this as read. It's not on my screen. You can't see it enough.
yep, the ordinance to revise the ordinance to revise the zoning ordinance, chapter 10, to adopt a 12-month moratorium on large data centers.
Myers second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Alder Myers.
Yes, first, I'm very grateful to the Plan Commission for taking this on and giving us a chance to come up with some common sense regulations around data centers. It's very important for us to do that for a number of reasons, but from my perspective, one of the big ones is the water utility. Data centers have solved some of their issues with internal recirculation. However, any sort of large scale data center would consume more flowage than the water utility could actually provide and maintain other essential city services like fire prevention or tap water during peak flowage. So it's very important for us to take this year to figure out our next steps.
Thank you.
And I will comment that the Plan Commission was unanimous in their approval
Mhm.
of this reading.
Yep, and I would add that we would have sent it to LNO if it weren't for feeling that there's a sense of urgency because we are vulnerable, so. Alder
Yeah, and I was
Madden.
going to address just that, is that normally this would have come through LNO first and we would have had a little bit of a look at it. However, our neighboring communities have also adopted moratoriums, which means that these data centers would start looking at places that do not have that moratorium in their ordinance. And so I appreciate the need for moving this forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor then of approving the ordinance to revise the zoning ordinance, chapter 10, to adopt a 12-month moratorium on large data centers as the second reading, so going into effect immediately, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to actual second readings, we have one ordinance to amend section 27.165 and 27.20 of the Middleton Code of Ordinances related to longevity pay and leave in the personnel ordinance. And I will say the city attorney and HR director are recommending that the council defer action on this second reading.
Yeah, we had some questions arise and Casey and I spoke today and we realized that there might be some other provisions in sub 3 and 4 that probably need to be tweaked because it's language about how this is all applied, but it's all keyed to the dates that were applicable to when we
Okay.
did it. And so we just wanted to make sure we change those to incorporate this new opt-out procedure.
Do you
Alder-
think that, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you think that would be ready by the next finance and personnel meeting?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Alder Myers.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you wanted to us to defer action for the 2 weeks, or if you felt that we should refer it to LNO for workshop.
I mean, it's up to you. I don't feel particularly strong that needs to go back to LNO. I think these are just some additional technical tweaks. I mean, certainly the policy is not any different than what
Okay.
we've seen. So I think it would be appropriate just to bring this back for the second reading again
On July 7th?
July, yeah. next meeting in
Yep.
July.
Okay, in that case, I move to defer action on this item until our first council meeting in July.
And Madden seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second to defer action on this ordinance to amend section 27.165 and 27.20 of the Middleton Code of Ordinance related to longevity pay and leave in the personnel ordinance until the council's July 7th meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll see that in July. Moving on to discussion, updates on committees, commissions, and boards by council members and mayor. Who would like to go first? Alder Nelson. Oh,
Did you?
I
are you
thought that was
raising
a-
your hand, Alder Crowe?
Alder Crowe.
I'll just do a quick, the summer reading program has begun at the library. It's for all ages. I've done it numerous times, so I encourage everybody to do it. There's a sheet of paper, you set your own goals, you decide how much you want to read. It could be listen as well, audiobooks, ebooks, regular books, however you want to do it. Set your goal, meet the goal, win some prizes at the end of the summer.
Great,
Love it.
thank you. Alder Nelson.
I have a couple, just quickly, the CDA, sponsored Pride event, amazing results, over 3,000 people. We had counters at the entrances and that was a huge success. And then PRFC, I've been asked to, remind people that this coming Monday, June 22nd at 4:00. We're going to be doing the grand opening of the Parisi Park Shelter. It's looking so spiffy. And come and get a tour, play some games, and enjoy some treatment. Also, an update on the storm damage from June 10th. A little note from PRFC on June 10th, a severe thunderstorm with straight line winds estimated at 80 miles an hour caused significant damage to city street trees and portions of our trail network. Public Works, Parks, Forestry, and Conservancy land staff responded immediately, clearing roadways, sidewalks, and assessing damage throughout the city. More than 90 tree damage reports were received within the with approximately, 24 high priority tree removals and 35 priority pruning work orders identified. The most impacted areas were the North Lake neighborhood, Hillcrest Avenue in Fox Ridge, and Spring Hill Drive on the north side. Storm damage also resulted in the temporary closure of 3 shared use paths due to fallen trees and debris. Crews continue to work diligently to restore safe access and complete the cleanup efforts across the community. And as Alder Crowe mentioned, they're doing a stellar job.
Great for that. Thank you. Alder Opitz and then Alder Myers.
I just wanted to publicly acknowledge the value we get from our interns that we have with the city, specifically at Workforce Housing Committee yesterday. Jake Pale, is that how you say? Paley, who was an intern with the city last summer. He came back after volunteering substantial more time, not for pay, as part of his work with his graduate work as a student. He presented a professional project report called An Affordable Housing Best Practices Guide for Middleton to the Workforce Housing Committee yesterday. And it's about 25 pages long. He did a really nice job summarizing it. And it's on our agenda from yesterday, if you'd like to look at it. It was just really good to get to hear his work. And I didn't get a chance to work with him much when I worked for the city, but I know that Scott Heacock mentored him as well. And I'm sure Abby had a role as well. But I just wanted to say that we really do get good value out of our interns
Great, thank you.
and other staff too.
Anyone on this side of the room? Alder Schaefer.
Sustainability Committee met yesterday and a couple new members, so we oriented a lot, did a lot of reviewing past, 3-year evaluation forms, and we're getting ready to start doing the whole thing all over again. The one action we did take is we spent $113 to put little signs out the front of the building pointing out all the natural, native
Mhm.
habitat and why they should be there and why people should pay attention to them. Think about putting them in their gardens. And I
Mhm.
said, well, you know, they might be gone in 2 years. I said, we don't care, we'll just pick them up, put them back
Oh.
in new buildings.
And that will be coordinated with
Yeah,
parks.
yeah.
Yep. Just want to make that clear. Okay, Alder Myers, then Alder Lorman.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that at our last Public Works Committee meeting, we reviewed the water and sewer utility consumer confidence reports. They are now posted online. I encourage any interested parties to read through them if you want to know the state of your sewer and water system. During our discussion of Public Works, we discussed the one result out of all of the tests that was potentially at an action level, and that was for lead. Overall, the 90th percentile reading and result of the 30 tests that we took was well below the action level, and so our utility manager explained how potentially very, very local factors at the site of a test can lead to a high result, and that what ultimately we're looking at is where the rest of the tests are in relation to that as we evaluate. So I'm really proud of the work our utility staff have done there to maintain our utility, and I encourage anyone who's interested to read through the consumer confidence reports.
Is that on the library list?
Yeah, let's put
Does
that on
it
the list.
count?
Yeah.
Does it count?
Put that on
Does
your-
it count?
It should.
So many-
Everything
so
we
many pages of
read.
government documents. that you
Each
should put that as a
packet.
goal.
Brilliant. All right, Alder Lorman.
Yeah, tourism said that the June room rates, not rates, room reservations are down, but nothing to be concerned about. Anticipate that July will be better. As to why they're down, no specific reasons. A little discussion about the potential loss of business as a result of what was going on over at Capitalize. Probably not going to be a significant hit on the rooms in Middleton in the future. And I think that was pretty much what they had to update on. Of course, in July 12th, Sunday is the pancake breakfast out at the airport. That's the funds for that go to the scholarships for kids to, pursue becoming professional pilots at some point in their life. And that through that organization, we're up to about 2.5 million volunteer rides right now.
Great. Any over here? No, I just have a few. First of all, on appointments, thank you all for attending last week's orientation. Those of you who could, the orientation and appreciation event, I thought it was a huge success. We had 96 people attend, which was really great. And I heard a lot of complimentary things from people, just like how nice it was to be able to like see the fellow members and like run into people and be like, oh, I didn't know you were on a committee. What do you serve on? So I think that was good. I just have, you all approved the latest round of appointments on the consent agenda. I have just 2 left to make, a student for workforce housing. And Dr. Minogue is going to help me with that one. And then we still need a second alternate for the Zoning Board of Appeals. So that's one that we, if you know anybody who wants to get into that line of not business, please let me know. Reminder about July 8th, DCCVA is going to have a virtual meeting at noon. Jason Valerius, leader of CARPC, is going to be speaking on the urbanization of our landscape. And he gave this excellent presentation at the Clean Lakes Alliance State of the Lakes breakfast that they had last month. It was really worth the price of admission. I normally don't get all excited about things like this presentation, but one of the points that he addressed is apartments, how, you know, if we look at how dense development is now, taking up so much of the watershed, it's important to keep in mind that apartments take up less space for the same number of people. So anyway, tune into that. It's a virtual meeting. If you have time during your lunch hour on July 8th, please tune in. And one other thing that we might be talking about is a recent change that the county is, I'm sorry, that the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District is requesting related to fluoride reduction and other things. That it won't be a presentation, but that has been a concern expressed by Middleton and others. So that is likely to be on the agenda. And then finally, for the Public Works folks, I did ask Ben, John, the director, and the chair also to start including a regular agenda item, not every month, maybe quarterly, but just to hear from the public about their suggestions for traffic and transportation safety improvements. We all get these requests. We all want to be responsive. And yet it seems that maybe a better way to handle these would not be as onesies or twosies, but a group of residents showing up at a meeting and reporting all these to the Public Works Committee so that they can compile a list and come back to it later and prioritize, so that we're making sure that that people's suggestions are being followed up on based on how practical and important safety-wise they are, not on which alder or mayor made the request to the staff. So that is something that I hope will be followed up on. All right, Alder Myers?
Upon reflection, it's getting into discussion of that, but thank you.
Yep, yep. Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to move into closed session, and Brian will read to us.
I would make that motion, but Brian usually has to read his.
Yep.
Yes, so we'd be looking for a motion to convene a closed session pursuant to section 19.851E, Wisconsin statutes, 19.8.15E for deliberating, negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. Discussion on number one, potential intergovernmental cooperative agreement extension with the town of Middleton, and two, potential agreement with Middleton Fire Company number one regarding Lee Street extension.
I would make the motion that you just read.
Open seconds.
All right, so Schaefer moves, Opitz seconds, and we need a roll call vote,
Alder Shaver,
Here.
or yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Alder Madden,
And you.
Yes.
Alder Baines,
Yes.
Mayor Heniro,
Yes.
Alder Nelson,
Yes.
Alder Myers,
Yes.
Alder Opitz,
Yes.
Alder Lorman,
Yes.
Alder Crow.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in closed session. Give me 1 second.
Is somebody screaming?